Hi, this is Group 1, and today we are presenting an analysis on the film Jojo Rabbit. My name is Haley. I'll be doing the introduction. Evelyn is doing the methodology, Colleen is doing the analysis, and Jasmine will be doing the conclusion. Once again, my part is the introduction. And I decided that for the introduction, I would write a summary about the main idea, plot points, and the main conflicts. I went about writing the introduction after watching the movie in one sitting, but every 30 minutes I would pause and take notes and reflect on the main conflicts that I had seen thus far. And some of the main plot points that I've got written down. Number 1, Jojo enlists in a Nazi youth camp, and we find out that he's a fanatic. 2, Jojo gets hurt and has to deliver newspapers, but still for the Nazi cause. 3, Jojo learns that his mother is hiding Elsa, and Elsa is a young Jewish girl who, once again, Jojo's mom is hiding. 4, Jojo's mom fights against the Nazi party. 5, Jojo enlists Elsa into giving him key information about Jews. And this happens after Jojo finds out about Elsa. Elsa sort of threatens him and says that if he outs her, I believe she would cut out his eyes, right? Or something like that. And so this leads them to spending more time together because he's like the only one that knows. So he begins to see that as an opportunity to question her and get more information in order to write a book and donate it to Nazis. Jojo and Elsa then begin bonding because they're spending so much time together. Then the war starts, and Jojo's home is searched by the Gestapo, and Elsa begins to take on Inga's identity, and Inga was Jojo's sister that died. After their home was raided, we find out that Jojo's mom was actually killed by the Gestapo, and then Jojo's life is saved by a Nazi officer. Jojo then rejects Nazi beliefs, and Jojo lets Elsa out of hiding, and then the movie ends. Now I'll be letting Evelyn take over, and she will be explaining the methodology of the movie.
Hi, I'm Evelyn. So I did the methodology portion of the film, and in this film, Jojo Rabbit focused on multiple characters who engaged in verbal and nonverbal communication as well as team talk. And in the film, Jojo spoke with his imaginary friend Hitler. Hitler is a figment of Jojo's imagination. He is 10 years old, and he is learning how to cope with the struggles in life of being in Germany in World War II and the war. And this is his way of how to cope with everything going on around him. So in one instance where he is verbally speaking to Hitler is in the Nazi youth camp, and they kill, and these teens are desensitized, and they kill the rabbit in front of Jojo, and that caused him to run away because he's 10 years old and he was afraid. So then when he spoke with imaginary Hitler, he kind of helped him cope with how to deal with this situation, and by becoming the rabbit, he ended up running out into the Nazi youth camp and grabbing this bomb from the captain of the Nazi youth camp, and he threw it, and then it came back and it exploded like on him, and he ended up having to get surgery, and his face became disformed, and his body had scars all over his body. And so this was a form of verbal communication, and very poorly done with teen talk as well. Things could have been said differently. And then throughout the film, there was a lot of verbal communication between Jojo and his mom, Rosie. And their relationship was very strained due to the fact that Rosie wanted peace in Germany and wanted the war to be over. However, Jojo was very Nazi, like in the film, there was Nazi propaganda. They were brainwashing him and brainwashing children to be in the army and war. And he wanted that war to rage on and for Germany to become victorious. So there was a lot of strain in their relationship. However, due to that verbal communication, Rosie continued to talk with Jojo and explained that it was important for them to be free and for the war there will be no peace as long as the war continues to rage on. So then Elsa, who is hiding in their attic, and she is Jewish. So Rosie is hiding her, and Jojo finds out about this, and he's very upset, of course, but throughout their time and spending time together, they develop a very close relationship and bond with one another. So because of this bond, they became friends. Later, after Rosie ended up dying, and because she was found out for being a part of the cause to save Jewish descent and put a stop to the war. Because of this, Jojo was very upset that his mother died, so he was wanting someone to blame, and he decided to blame Elsa, Jewish descent, for his mother's death. Through this interaction, when he went home to visit Elsa, there was no verbal communication, it was all nonverbal. He went up to Elsa, and his feet were dragging on the floor. His eyes were red. He was very distraught in his thinking, and he tried to stab Elsa in the shoulder. And Elsa, when he first walked in, she was smiling, but upon how he entered the room and his demeanor, she started to frown, and she was sad because she realized what had happened to Rosie. And then it ended up just resulting in them hugging each other and crying, and they fell to the ground. And it was a great form of nonverbal communication between the two characters, as well as character development. Colleen?
I'm gonna be doing the analysis of Jojo Rabbit. So basically, I had, as well as Evelyn, I had proposed different forms of verbal communication as well as nonverbal communication that happened in the movie Jojo Rabbit. So an example of nonverbal communication that I am going to use is when Elsa and Jojo realized that the war was over. They had realized that the war was over, and it was leaving Elsa and Jojo to dance on the doorstep. So this is a form of nonverbal communication because nothing was being expressed between the two. The only thing that they had did amongst each other was dance between each other. There was no words that were being said amongst each other. It was just dancing, and then them basically expressing their emotion through the dance and not through words. So a form of verbal communication that I had used was when Adolf Hitler basically used many forms of nonverbal communication throughout the movie. He used many gestures, body movements, and postures in order to speak directly towards Jojo Rabbit into persuading him to be anti-Jew and pro-Hitler. even though he was a figment of his imagination, he instilled fear into Jojo to be pro-Nazi by basically persuading him and yelling at him and using forms of violence and his extremely like loud yelling at him in order to persuade him and to be pro-Nazi. And then also I did the poster board that represents the movie Jojo Rabbit. I used many forms of communications and many words that have to do with the movie, such as I used a quote from the movie that says, "Let everything happen to you. Just keep going in beauty and terror, and then no feeling is final." And then I also use many pictures that represent the movie. So this is going to be the poster board that I had came up with in regards to the movie. So I am going to be passing on to Jasmine.
Well, I did the conclusion. So the conclusion of the movie is that Jojo is a boy who is very proud member of the Hitler Youth. Jojo spent more of his time with imaginary friend Hitler, which brainwashed him to be the ideal of being a Nazi and hate the Jews. Jojo and his mother were just regular people, but other that his mother was hiding from something from him that he did not know, that she was hiding Elsa in his sister's room. Throughout the movie, Jojo was very confused at what to believe on the Nazi or to protect Elsa that was hiding in his home. When his mother has passed on, he was very angry and did not know what to do. After the war was going on and Jojo was just trying to fight through how to survive without his mother, when it was just him and Elsa in the home, and throughout that, Jojo finally came to the conclusion that he will protect Elsa until the war ends. And that's all I have.
Yeah, great job. Thank you so much, Evelyn, Colleen, and Jasmine. Before we end, I wanted to ask you guys if you had any final thoughts. I thought that Evelyn's example of nonverbal communication, where she talked about Jojo finding out that his mom had just died, and although he and Elsa had been sort of like accruing this relationship and these bonds, he still felt very angry over the loss of his mother. So he comes home with a knife, and I don't even really think that there's any dialogue, but just that scene was acted really well, and I think that you described it very well, Evelyn. Colleen, I thought that your poster board was so lively and impressive, and we can all tell that you put a lot of work into it. And Jasmine, thank you so much for your clear and concise commentary on the conclusion.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have it? Of course. Does anybody else have anything that they'd like to add?
I feel like that was everything, and I feel like thank you so much for contributing to this group project. And I feel like that is going to conclude our project on Jojo Rabbit.
Okay.
I agree.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.